Excluded from my brother's promotion ceremony, I went on vacation. When the event collapsed, my whole family desperately tried to contact me. You're not invited to the ceremony. Hope you understand. It's just a small thing. That was the text. No explanation, no greeting. Just that. I sat there on my couch, rereading it over and over. I even checked if maybe he sent it to the wrong person. But no, my name was right there above the message. Daniel, 39 years old, from Raleigh, North Carolina, and apparently no longer invited to my younger brother's promotion ceremony. I stared at the screen, waiting for something else. Maybe a follow-up. A joke. Some wink emoji, or just kidding. But nothing came. I called him. Straight to voicemail. So I called our dad instead. Hey, I said, trying to sound casual. Did you hear about Colin's ceremony? A beat of silence. Then, yeah, I guess I'm not invited? Another pause. Then my dad's voice, low and indifferent. It's just a ceremony. Don't blow it out of proportion. I had to close my eyes for a second. Seriously? Dad, it's a big deal. He's getting promoted. I've been there for every milestone of his damn life. And now this. You've always been too sensitive, he said. You should focus on yourself for once. He hung up before I could say another word. Focus on myself. That part stuck with me. I set the phone down on the kitchen counter and just stood there, staring at nothing. My mind spiraled, all the memories playing like someone flipping through a photo album at double speed. I was there when Colin got suspended junior year for fighting. I bailed him out by talking to the principal and driving him home while he sulked. I helped him write his application essay when he enlisted in the Army. I flew out for every graduation, every deployment send-off, even when I could barely afford the plane ticket. And now? It's just a ceremony. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Not the yelling, plate-smashing kind of angry. Just this cold, heavy feeling in my chest, like something final had snapped. I didn't call Colin again. I didn't argue with Dad. I didn't text anyone in the family. Instead, I opened my laptop and started looking at travel deals. 3 hours later, I had booked a 4-night luxury retreat in Montana. Mountain views, private hiking guide, full-service spa, the works. I'd never done anything like that before. Not because I couldn't afford it, I just never gave myself permission. But if my own brother could cut me out like I didn't matter, then maybe I really didn't. Not to them, anyway. So I'd spend that weekend in the mountains instead of at some stiff military event where I wasn't welcome. They made it clear where I stood. Now it was my turn to stand somewhere else. Alone, but on higher ground. 2 days before the ceremony, I posted a photo from the airport. Just me in hiking boots, holding a stainless steel water bottle with my carry-on backpack slung over one shoulder. The caption read, "No base tour for me, but I'll settle for a view from 10,000 feet. I didn't tag anyone, didn't mention Colin by name, but I knew the message would land exactly where I wanted it to. Within an hour, my cousin Riley commented with a sunglasses emoji. My Aunt Deborah liked the post, then unliked it 30 minutes later. Passive-aggressive support. The family specialty. By the time I boarded my flight, my dad had texted. Childish, Daniel. Real mature. I didn't respond. I just turned off my phone and buckled in. As the plane lifted into the sky, I sat back and closed my eyes. The hum of the engines was the first peaceful sound I'd heard in days. No one talking down to me. No guilt trips. No vague dismissals wrapped in polite tones. Just altitude. Space. Air. I ordered a glass of champagne before we even hit cruising altitude. The flight attendant smiled when she poured it, like she could tell I needed it. I raised the glass to the tiny window beside me. To peace, I murmured. To finally walking away. It wasn't that I wanted revenge. I didn't even want an apology anymore. I just wanted to stop playing the part everyone assigned me, the older brother who was always available, always understanding, always last. I'd spent years making room for Colin. Skipping vacations, rearranging work schedules, covering for him when he screwed up. Every time he fell, I caught him. I never asked for credit. I never thought I had to. But maybe that was the problem. Maybe they'd all gotten so used to me being the background character, they didn't even notice I was there. This trip was the first thing I had ever planned purely for myself. By the time we landed in Bozeman, Montana, I felt like I had already shed something heavy. A version of me that only existed in proximity to other people's expectations. A shuttle took me from the airport to the lodge, a beautiful timber-framed escape nestled between two mountains. The air was crisp. The sky felt closer. The kind of place where even silence sounded like a reward. My room had floor-to-ceiling windows that opened onto a private balcony overlooking the valley. On the bed was a plush robe and a welcome gift, artisanal trail mix, lavender balm, and a card that said, "Disconnect to reconnect." Hell yes. That night, I had a 5-course dinner by the fireplace. Locally sourced trout, a huckleberry tart, and the best damn bourbon I'd ever tasted. Before turning in, I posted again. A photo of the view from my room at sunset. Pink clouds streaked across the peaks. Caption: When you're not invited, create your own event. I turned off my phone after that. Let them see it. Let them spin. I wasn't bitter anymore. I was busy being free. The night of the ceremony, I was stretched out on a lounge chair under the Montana stars with a bourbon in one hand and a wool blanket draped over my legs. The lodge kept little fire pits going until midnight. Mine crackled softly as I leaned back and stared up into the endless sky. I hadn't thought about Colin or the ceremony all day. Honestly, I'd forgotten what day it even was until my phone, sitting face down on the armrest beside me, started vibrating. I ignored it the first time. Then it buzzed again. And again. When I finally flipped it over, I had 12 notifications, text after text lighting up the screen. The first one I opened was from my cousin Ryan. Bro, you dodged a grenade tonight. Then one from Dad. Call me when you can. 2 more from our aunt and uncle. Another from Colin himself. I took a sip of my drink, swiped up, and opened the group family thread. Chaos. Apparently, Colin's fiancée, Jasmine, had left the reception early. Walked out in front of everyone right after dinner. No toast. No dance. No warning. The reason? She'd found texts on Colin's phone. Incriminating ones. The kind that make a woman grab her purse and never look back. One cousin mentioned something about a bridesmaid. Another hinted it might have been someone stationed on base. Either way, Jasmine saw enough to walk out, and not quietly. She had shouted something across the room before leaving. Something like, "Enjoy your rank, Colonel. Too bad you can't keep it in your pants." It didn't end there. Uncle Rick apparently got into it with Colin during the reception. Shouting match turned into shoving. Someone knocked over the champagne tower. Then our other uncle, the one who always drinks too much, tried to calm things down and ended up taking a swing at someone. A literal punch. Venue staff called security. People were escorted out. One of Colin's superior officers left early, visibly disappointed. I read all of this like I was watching it unfold from another planet. And then, as I scrolled, another message from Ryan came in. Glad I wasn't there to ruin it. I actually laughed out loud. I tapped out a quick reply. Yeah, real shame I missed it. Then I sent one last message directly to Colin. Just 2 lines. Heard it was a night to remember. Glad I wasn't there to ruin it. I put my phone down again and sank deeper into the chair, the fire warming my legs, the stars as bright as streetlights. No guilt. No regret. Just the clean, quiet feeling of dodging a bullet I didn't even know was coming. Let them unravel. I had a view of the whole damn collapse from 1,000 miles away. I woke up the next morning to 27 missed calls and a flood of voicemails. My phone buzzed until it overheated. When I finally picked it up, it was like the whole family had decided I was suddenly crucial again. First one was from Dad. This is a family crisis. We need to talk, Daniel. Then Colin. I messed up. I know. But you should have been there. Everyone was out of control. I could have used you, man. And then my personal favorite, a voicemail from Aunt Luann, voice thick with righteous disappointment. Colin needed you. Why weren't you there to stabilize things like you always do? I actually laughed when I heard that one. Stabilize things. Like I was the family sandbag they threw in the trunk when the road got bumpy. They hadn't wanted me at the party. But now that the house caught fire, suddenly they were looking around for a hose and realized they'd left it behind. I stood on my balcony, sipping coffee while the mountains lit up gold in the morning sun. The air was sharp and fresh, like something you wanted to keep bottled. The silence was perfect. I posted a photo of my breakfast, eggs, homemade sourdough, some tiny bowl of fruit with edible flowers on top. The caption? Missing the chaos. Not missing the people. A few minutes later, another call came in. I let it ring. Then a text from Colin. Can we just talk? No, we couldn't. Because talking meant I'd have to pretend like any of this made sense. Like I hadn't been deliberately pushed aside and then blamed for not catching the mess when everything went sideways. I sat down in one of those Adirondack chairs by the lodge's fire pit and just stared at the flames. I thought about every time I had been the one to de-escalate family drama. The one who drove Dad home when he drank too much. The one who smoothed over arguments at Thanksgiving. The one who reminded Colin to write thank you notes after his basic training graduation because our mom was too emotional to deal with it. I used to think that was love, responsibility, family. Now I saw it for what it was, convenience. I wasn't the person they appreciated. I was the person they used. Until I wasn't available. Then I was the problem. I turned my phone off completely. No calls. No texts. No guilt. They didn't want me at the ceremony. Now they could feel what that really meant. Let them flail. Let them miss me. I was finally starting to enjoy the silence they had always taken for granted. That afternoon, just as I was coming back from a trail walk, my phone lit up again, this time with a message from my cousin Melissa. Melissa. You need to call me like now. I hesitated. Melissa wasn't one to stir the pot unless something was really brewing. I found a quiet spot behind the lodge, away from the spa-goers and wine sippers, and dialed her. She picked up instantly. Oh my God, Daniel. You're not going to believe what happened after the ceremony. I let out a breath. I already heard the gist. Colin's fiancée walked out, the reception turned into a bar fight, and someone may or may not have broken a champagne flute on Uncle Rick's forehead. Melissa snorted. Yeah, that was just the opening act. I leaned against a pine tree and listened. Apparently, right after Jasmine stormed out, Colin had a full-blown meltdown. Not a sad, emotional one. More like the kind of tantrum you'd expect from a frustrated teenager, not a grown man in uniform. He started screaming at everyone, Melissa said. Blamed the DJ, the planner, the photographer, even blamed Grandma for sitting in the wrong section. I raised an eyebrow. He yelled at Grandma? Oh, it gets better. You know what she said. I smiled. Lay it on me. Melissa paused for dramatic effect. She stood up in front of the entire room, pointed at him, and said, "This is what happens when you don't invite Daniel." I blinked. You're kidding. I swear on my life, she said. Then she sat back down like she just dropped the State of the Union. I burst out laughing, the kind that echoed off the trees. That's amazing. Melissa was laughing too now. Colin totally lost it. Locked himself in the bathroom for like 2 hours. People were banging on the door, trying to calm him down. Meanwhile, the staff was trying to clean up spilled shrimp cocktail and shattered glass from the dance floor. And the fiancée? Gone. Her dad came in during the cleanup, didn't say a word, just looked around and said, "Your family can clean this up. We're out." Then he walked out with her. No goodbyes, no explanations. I shook my head. Well, there was a short pause. Then Melissa said, more quietly, "You were right to walk away. Everyone knows it now. Even the ones who won't admit it." I felt that. For years I'd second-guessed every boundary I tried to draw. I worried that not showing up would make me look cold, that taking space would make me selfish. But now? The silence I'd chosen had echoed louder than any speech I could have made. "Thanks, Mel," I said, meaning it. "No problem," she said. "Just enjoy that mountain air. You earned it." We hung up, and I just stood there for a while, listening to the wind whistle through the trees. They tried to cut me out, and I became the invisible fault line that cracked the whole damn ceremony in half. Funny how that works. I didn't chase chaos this time. I watched it burn from 100 miles away and felt nothing but peace. The next morning, I woke up to frost on the window pane and another dozen messages waiting for me. The first was from Dad. "We need to talk. Family reunion. Just us. No drama." Then Colin. "I was out of line. I shouldn't have excluded you. Please just come home and let's fix this." And finally Melissa again. Just one line. "Heads up, they're planning some kind of sit-down when you get back. Like an intervention or something." I stared at that one the longest. They wanted to reunite. To talk things through. Which really meant, get me back in the fold, smooth it over, reset the dynamic. Go back to me being the responsible one, the buffer, the fixer. The guy who swallowed his own feelings to hold the family upright. Not this time. I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I went down to the lodge office, found the front desk clerk, a guy named Josh with a man bun and a face like he'd never had a stressful day in his life, and asked if I could extend my stay another week. He checked the system. "Yeah, actually. One of the Riverside cabins just opened up. It's totally off-grid. No Wi-Fi, no cell signal, private dock. Interested?" I smiled. "Absolutely." While he clicked through the reservation screen, I pulled out my phone and sent one last text, just to Melissa. Me. They cut me out. Now I'm cutting myself off. No discussion needed. She replied with a heart emoji. That was it. That was enough. I shut off the phone completely after that. No notifications. No temptation. Just quiet. I packed up my bags, took one last long shower in the lodge's spa room, and left behind the borrowed robe and the people still trying to drag me back into their mess. The cabin sat beside a narrow bend in the river, shaded by tall pines and surrounded by nothing but water, rock, and the steady whisper of wine through the trees. There was a porch swing, a wood-burning stove, a battered canoe tied up at the dock. It was perfect. I sat out on the porch that night with a thick blanket wrapped around my shoulders and a hot mug of tea in my hands. The air smelled like pine and smoke and something clean, like the world had finally stopped asking me to carry it. Let them plan their intervention. Let them prepare their speeches and rehearse their guilt trips. I was gone. Really gone. The kind of gone you don't come back from just because someone says sorry and offers you leftovers. This wasn't a tantrum. This was a boundary. They made the first cut. I made the last. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel abandoned. I felt free. On my last morning at the river cabin, I made breakfast the slow way, cast iron skillet, farm eggs from a basket the lodge owner had left on my porch, fresh sourdough toasted over the fire. No rush. No notifications buzzing. Just the crackle of logs and the quiet lapping of the river. I took my coffee out to the dock and sat cross-legged on the old wood planks, watching the mist rise off the water. When I finally turned my phone back on, I didn't feel dread. Just curiosity. Like checking the weather for a city I didn't live in anymore. Dozens of texts trickled in. Colin. Dad. A few scattered cousins. All with the same rhythm. Urgency, apology, then accusation when I didn't respond. I didn't answer any of them. I opened my camera instead. Snapped one last photo, the lake. Perfectly still, a thin golden ribbon of sunlight stretching across the surface like a quiet blessing. Then I posted it. Caption. Zero regrets. No filter. No explanation. Just the truth. I sat back, letting the phone fall to the dock beside me, and stared out at the water. A breeze picked up, cool and sharp against my face. My reflection wobbled in the current, blurry, peaceful, unfamiliar in the best way. I thought about all the years I had been the second choice. Not the star. Not the favorite. Just the one who kept showing up. I'd shown up to Colin's disasters. His surgeries. His breakups. His promotions. I was the one clapping from the crowd, taking the photos, giving up weekends and sleep and vacation time. And somehow, when the moment came, the big, shiny, career-defining moment, I didn't even make the guest list. That should have broken me. Instead, it built something new. I used to think being the strong one meant sticking around no matter how people treated you. But now I knew better. Being strong meant walking away without making a scene. Leaving the doors shut when they finally noticed it was quiet without you. Letting them sit in the space they created, without rushing in to fill it. I reached into the cooler beside me and pulled out the last little bottle of Lodge whiskey I'd been saving. Unscrewed the cap. Held it up toward the horizon. To never being their second choice again. The wind tugged at my hair. Somewhere nearby, a loon called out across the water, echoing the words in its own wild language. I took a long sip. Let it burn all the way down. Then I leaned back, eyes closed, sun on my face. Let them keep their ceremonies and speeches and perfectly curated family optics. I had the mountains. I had the river. I had myself. And for once, that was more than enough.